She was the most powerful woman in Silicon Valley, worth billions before she turned 35, until one foggy evening, her luxury sedan was forced off a mountain road by masked attackers who wanted more than just money. But the semi-truck that appeared out of nowhere, blocking their escape route, wasn't driven by a hero anyone expected. A single father, a long-haul trucker, a man with a past he'd buried under endless highway miles and sleepless nights. He had no reason to get involved, no reason to risk everything for a stranger in designer heels. But he did. What began as a split-second decision on a dangerous curve would unravel into a love story that defied every rule she'd ever written, every wall he'd ever built, and every expectation society had placed on both of them. Sometimes the person who saves your life becomes the one worth living for. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The Pacific Coast Highway wound through the mountains like a serpent carved in asphalt, beautiful by day, treacherous by night. At 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in late September, fog rolled in thick from the ocean below, reducing visibility to barely 20 feet. Most sensible drivers had pulled off hours ago to wait it out at roadside diners or gas stations. But Landon Blake wasn't most drivers. His 18-wheeler, a faded red Peterbilt with over 400,000 miles on the odometer, cut through the mist with practiced ease. The cab smelled like truck stop coffee, pine air freshener, and the faint ghost of crayons from a drawing his daughter had tucked behind the sun visor 3 weeks ago. Landon's hands rested easy on the wheel, calloused fingers tapping absently to a Johnny Cash song playing low on the radio. He wore a plain gray Henley, sleeves pushed up to his elbows, and faded jeans that had seen better years. His dark brown hair was shorter than he preferred, cut that way because 7-year-old Sophie had told him he looked like a scruffy bear, and it made kids at school ask questions he didn't want her answering. A small silver cross hung from his rearview mirror, swaying gently with each turn. Beside it, a photo. A little girl with wild curls and gap-toothed grin, holding a toy truck almost as big as her torso. Landon glanced at it, then back to the road. 23 more hours until he'd be home. 23 hours until he could pick her up from his sister's place and hear about everything he'd missed. Dance class, math homework, whether or not the tooth fairy had been generous this time. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from his sister, Julie. Sophie's asleep. She asked if you were driving through the clouds tonight. I said yes. She said to be careful because clouds are slippery. Landon smiled despite the ache in his chest. He typed back one-handed. Tell her I'm being extra careful. The highway curved sharply ahead. Landon downshifted, engine growling as the truck leaned into the turn. That's when he saw the headlights. 2 vehicles moving fast. Too fast for conditions like this. A sleek black sedan in front, swerving erratically. Behind it, a dark SUV, aggressive, closing distance. Landon's gut tightened. Something was wrong. The sedan's brake lights flared red. The SUV didn't slow. Instead, it rammed the sedan's rear bumper. Hard. Metal crunched. The sedan fishtailed, tires screaming against wet pavement. The driver fought for control, but the SUV hit again. This time from the side. Landon's breath caught. The sedan spun, skidding sideways toward the guardrail. Beyond that, guardrail was nothing but a 100-foot drop into jagged rocks and black ocean. The driver overcorrected. The car lurched left, clipped the rail, and then jerked violently back onto the road, barely staying upright. The SUV circled like a predator. Landon didn't think. He just moved. His foot hit the gas. The Peterbilt surged forward, diesel engine roaring. He angled the truck across both lanes, tires biting into asphalt. As he positioned the massive rig directly between the sedan and the SUV, he locked the brakes. The truck shuddered to a halt, a wall of red steel blocking the road entirely. The SUV's headlights glared through the fog. For 3 seconds, nothing moved. Then the SUV's engine revved. Landon could see 2 figures inside, faces obscured by shadows. They weren't backing down. They were calculating. Landon grabbed the aluminum baseball bat he kept wedged behind his seat. Not a weapon, just insurance. He'd never had to use it. But tonight felt different. He stepped out of the cab. The fog swallowed him immediately, cold and damp against his skin. He walked forward slowly, bat resting against his shoulder. Eyes locked on the SUV. "You've got about 10 seconds to turn around," Landon called out, voice steady. "Come. After that, I call Highway Patrol, and they'll want to know why you were running a civilian off the road." The SUV's passenger door opened. A man stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black jacket and dark jeans. His face was partially covered by a pulled-up collar. In his hand, something metallic glinted. "Walk away, trucker," the man said. "This doesn't concern you." Landon's grip tightened on the bat. "That person you just tried to kill? Yeah, it concerns me now." Behind him, the sedan's door creaked open. High heels clicked against wet pavement. A woman's voice, shaky but sharp, cut through the fog. "Please, I'll pay you whatever they're paying you, just let me go." The man from the SUV laughed, cold and humorless. "It's not about money, Miss Davis." Landon's eyes narrowed. Miss Davis. The name tugged at something in the back of his mind, but he didn't have time to place it. The man was moving forward, weapon rising. "Last chance," the man said. Landon didn't wait. He closed the distance in 3 long strides, swung the bat low, and connected with the man's wrist. The weapon clattered to the ground. The man staggered back, cursing. Landon kicked the weapon off the road. Into the darkness beyond the guardrail, the SUV's driver door flew open. Another man emerged, younger, faster. He lunged at Landon. They collided hard, grappling in the fog. Landon twisted, using the man's momentum against him, and shoved him into the side of the SUV. The man's head struck metal with a dull thud. He slumped. The first man was back on his feet, blood dripping from his hand. But his eyes had changed. He wasn't calculating anymore. He was retreating. "This isn't over," he spat, dragging his partner back into the SUV. The engine roared. Tires spun. The SUV reversed hard, swung around, and disappeared into the fog, leaving only the smell of burnt rubber and the echo of acceleration. Landon stood there, breathing hard, bat still in hand. His heart pounded against his ribs, adrenaline flooding his system. It had been years since he'd felt this, the sharp edge of survival. He hated it, but he was good at it. He turned. The woman stood beside her sedan, one hand braced against the hood, the other clutching her phone. She was younger than he'd expected, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair that fell in waves past her shoulders. Her white blouse was torn at the shoulder. Her black slacks were smudged with dirt, but her eyes, even in the dim light of his truck's headlights, were fierce, intelligent, calculating. "Are you hurt?" Landon asked, walking toward her slowly, bat lowered. She shook her head, but her hand trembled. "No, I don't think so." Her voice was hoarse. "Who are you?" "Just a guy driving through," Landon said. He glanced at her car. The back bumper was caved in, taillights shattered. "You need a tow, and probably the police." She nodded, still staring at him like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "You saved my life." Landon shrugged. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," she said quietly. "Eyes never." Leaving his. They wouldn't have. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The fog pressed in around them, thick and isolating. The only sound was the distant crash of waves far below and the low idle of Landon's truck. "I'm Mia," she said finally. "Mia Davis." And that's when it clicked. Mia Davis, CEO of Nexus Technologies. The woman who'd revolutionized cloud infrastructure and made Forbes cover 3 times in 2 years. The woman worth more money than Landon would see in 10 lifetimes. He nodded slowly. "Landon Blake." She held out her hand. He shook it, rough palm against soft skin, the contrast stark and oddly grounding. "Thank you, Landon Blake," she said. He released her hand and stepped back. "You should call someone you trust." Mia hesitated, then nodded. She turned away, phone pressed to her ear. voice low and urgent. Landon walked back to his truck, climbed into the cab, and sat there in the darkness. His hands were still shaking. He looked at Sophie's photo, at her bright, trusting eyes, and felt the weight of what had just happened settle over him like a heavy blanket. He'd promised himself he'd stay invisible, keep his head down, stay out of trouble. For her. Always for her. But tonight, someone had needed help. And walking away had never been in his nature. No matter how hard he tried. The highway patrol arrived 20 minutes later. Lights cutting through the fog like blue and red ghosts. 2 officers stepped out, flashlights sweeping the scene. Mia stood beside her ruined sedan, arms crossed, posture rigid despite the tremor in her hands. Landon leaned against his truck's hood, silent, watching. The lead officer, a grizzled man in his 50s with a weathered face and skeptical eyes, approached Mia first. "Miss Davis, you called this in?" "Yes," Mia said, voice steadier now. "2 men in a black SUV forced me off the road. They tried to kill me." The officer's eyes flicked to Landon. "And you are?" "Landon Blake. I was driving through. Saw what was happening. Blocked the road so they couldn't follow her." The officer wrote something in his notepad. "You get a plate number?" "No," Landon said. Fog was too thick. "But I can describe the vehicle. Late model Chevy Tahoe. Black. Tinted windows. Aftermarket grille." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The second officer, younger, was already photographing the damage to Mia's car. "This wasn't an accident," he called out. "Ram marks, deliberate impact points." The lead officer turned back to Mia. "Do you know why someone would want to hurt you?" Mia's jaw tightened. "I have enemies. Business rivals. People who don't like the decisions I make." "Anyone specific?" She hesitated. "I'll need to speak with my security team." The officer didn't look satisfied, but he nodded. "We'll file a report. I'd suggest staying somewhere secure tonight. And if you think of anything else, call us immediately." Mia nodded, but her attention had already shifted. She was looking at Landon again, that same intense, searching gaze. The officers finished their report and arranged for a tow truck. By the time everything was settled, it was nearly 1 in the morning. Mia stood beside the road. No car, no ride, just a designer handbag and a phone with 12 missed calls. Landon had stayed the whole time, leaning against his truck, arms crossed, waiting. He wasn't sure why. Maybe it was the look in her eyes. Maybe it was the fact that those men had known her name, which meant this wasn't random, which meant she was still in danger. "Do you have someone coming to get you?" Landon asked. Mia looked up, startled, as if she'd forgotten he was still there. "My assistant is sending a car. Should be here in 40 minutes. Landon nodded. "I'll wait. You don't have to do that." "I know." She studied him for a long moment, then walked over, heels clicking softly against pavement. "Why did you help me?" Landon shrugged. "Because you needed it." "That's it?" "That's it." Mia's expression softened, just slightly. "Most people would have kept driving." "I'm not most people." She smiled at that, a small, tired thing. "No. I don't think you are." They stood in silence, the fog beginning to thin, revealing glimpses of the ocean far below. The stars were starting to break through. "I have a daughter," Landon said suddenly, surprising himself. 7 years old. Sophie. She's the reason I do this job. Long-haul trucking. It pays better than anything else I'm qualified for. Keeps a roof over her head, food on the table, dance lessons twice a week. Mia turned to him, fully attentive now. "Where's her mother?" "Gone," Landon said simply. 3 years now. She left one morning and never came back. Just a note on the counter and an empty closet. "I'm sorry." Landon shook his head. "Don't be. Sophie's better off. We're better off. It's just the 2 of us, and that's enough." Mia's expression shifted, something unreadable flickering across her face. "You're a good father." "I try." Headlights appeared in the distance, cutting through the thinning fog. A black town car, sleek and polished. It pulled up beside them, and a man in a suit stepped out, scanning the area with sharp, efficient eyes. "Miss Davis," he said, moving immediately to her side. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine, Thomas," Mia said. "Thanks to him." She gestured to Landon. Thomas turned, sized Landon up in about 3 seconds, and extended his hand. "Thank you for protecting her." Landon shook it. "Just did what anyone should." Thomas opened the car door. Mia hesitated, one hand on the frame, then turned back to Landon. "I'd like to repay you for what you did tonight." "Not necessary." "Please," she said, and there was something vulnerable in her voice now, something beneath the CEO polish. "Let me at least cover the damage to your truck, or your time. Something." Landon glanced at his Peterbilt. There was a small dent in the front bumper where he'd locked up the brakes. "It's fine." "Really?" Mia reached into her bag and pulled out a business card, sleek black with silver lettering. "If you ever need anything at all, call me." Landon took the card, more to be polite than anything else. He slipped it into his pocket without looking at it. "Take care of yourself, Miss Davis," he said. "Mia." She corrected softly. "Just Mia." He nodded. "Mia." She held his gaze for one more moment, then slid into the car. The door closed. The town car pulled away, red taillights fading into the distance until there was nothing left but fog and silence. Landon stood there for a while, alone on the empty highway. Then he climbed back into his truck, checked Sophie's photo one more time, and pulled back onto the road. He had 22 hours left until home. 22 hours, until he could forget this night ever happened. But as the miles rolled by, he kept seeing her eyes, fierce and frightened and grateful all at once. He kept hearing her voice. "You saved my life." Landon turned up the radio, trying to drown out the thoughts, but they followed him anyway, all the way through the night, through the fog, through the long empty stretches of highway that suddenly felt less lonely than they had before. By sunrise, the story had broken. Not the full story. Not yet. But enough. Tech CEO's car forced off Pacific Coast Highway in apparent attack. Mia Davis unharmed. Authorities investigating. Every major news outlet from Bloomberg to CNN had picked it up. Mia's face was everywhere. Professional headshots interspersed with grainy footage from nearby traffic cameras showing her damaged sedan. But there was no mention of the truck driver. No mention of Landon Blake. Just a vague reference to a passing motorist who intervened. Mia sat in her corner office on the 42nd floor of the Nexus Technologies Tower in downtown San Francisco, staring at the headlines on her laptop screen. Her assistant, Claire, a sharp woman in her 30s with red-framed glasses and an ever-present tablet, stood nearby, rattling off the morning's crisis management plan. "PR wants to release a statement by noon. Security is upgrading your detail. The board has called an emergency meeting for 2 p.m. and your mother has called 6 times. Mia didn't respond. She was still seeing it, the SUV's headlights in her rearview mirror, the sickening crunch of metal, the guardrail rushing toward her. And then him, the truck driver with the calm voice and steady hands who'd stepped between her and death like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Miss Davis," Claire prompted gently. Mia blinked. "I need you to find someone for me." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "Landon Blake. He's a truck driver. Long haul. He was on Pacific Coast Highway last night. I need to know everything about him." Claire's fingers flew across her tablet. "Any other details?" "He saved my life," Mia said quietly. "And then he disappeared." Claire paused, looking up. "I'll have a full report by end of day." Mia nodded, but she couldn't shake the restlessness. She'd built an empire by being 3 steps ahead of everyone else, by controlling variables, by eliminating threats. But last night, she'd been powerless, vulnerable, and the only reason she was sitting here now was because of a stranger who wanted nothing in return. It didn't make sense. In her world, everyone wanted something. 300 miles north, Landon pulled his truck into a rest stop just outside of Pinecrest, a small logging town tucked into the mountains. He'd been driving for 9 straight hours, and his body was screaming for rest. He parked in the truck lot, killed the engine, and sat there for a moment, eyes closed, breathing slowly. His phone buzzed. "Julie. Sophie wants to FaceTime. Are you somewhere safe to pull over?" Landon smiled despite his exhaustion. He opened the app. Sophie's face filled the screen, all wild curls and missing front tooth and pure, unfiltered joy. "Daddy, you're in the clouds." Landon glanced out the window at the fog rolling through the pines. "Yeah, sweetheart, I'm in the clouds. Did you see any dragons?" "Not yet. But I'll keep looking." Sophie giggled. Then her expression turned serious. "Aunt Julie says you'll be home tomorrow." "That's right. Will you make pancakes?" "And I'll make a whole stack. With chocolate chips. Is there any other kind?" Sophie beamed. Behind her, Julie appeared, smiling. "All right, Munchkin. Let your dad get some rest. He's been driving all night." Sophie blew a kiss at the screen. Landon caught it, pressed it to his chest, dramatically. Sophie laughed again, and then the call ended. Landon sat there, staring at the blank screen. This was his world. This was what mattered. Sophie's laugh. Julie's support. The promise of pancakes, and normal, quiet mornings. Not midnight rescues on foggy highways. Not billionaire CEOs with dangerous enemies. He pulled Mia's business card from his pocket, turned it over in his hands. The silver lettering caught the light. Mia Davis, CEO, Nexus Technologies. Below that, a phone number, an email. Landon almost threw it away. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she'd looked at him. Maybe it was the quiet desperation in her voice when she'd said, "Thank you." He tucked the card back into his pocket and climbed out of the cab. By late afternoon, Claire had delivered her report. Mia read it twice. Landon Blake, age 34. Former resident of Oak Ridge. Now based out of Crescent Bay. A small coastal town 2 hours south of San Francisco. Independent contractor for Westfield Freight. No criminal record. No social media presence. One registered dependent, Sophie Blake, age 7. Enrolled at Crescent Bay Elementary. Medical records showed frequent hospital visits, specialists, ongoing treatment. Mia's chest tightened. The daughter he'd mentioned. She was sick. Claire cleared her throat. "There's more. He's behind on medical bills. About $47,000. And his truck, it's barely holding together. Registration shows it's 20 years old. He's one major breakdown away from losing his only source of income." Mia sat back in her chair, fingers drumming against the armrest. A man drowning in debt, working himself to exhaustion to keep his daughter alive, and he'd still stop to save a stranger. No hesitation, no expectation of reward. "Get me his contact information," Mia said. "Already done," Claire replied, sliding a folder across the desk. "But Miss Davis, are you sure about this? Getting involved with a civilian? Especially after last night?" "I'm not getting involved," Mia interrupted. "I'm repaying a debt." Claire nodded slowly. "What would you like me to do?" Mia stared at Landon's file photo. A DMV picture that showed a tired man with kind eyes and the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Set up a meeting," she said. "Somewhere private. I want to thank him properly." Claire made a note. "And if he refuses?" Mia smiled faintly. "Then I'll find another way." Because one thing Mia Davis had learned in her climb to the top, when you found someone worth keeping, you didn't let them slip away. Landon pulled his truck into the gravel driveway of a small yellow house on Maple Street in Crescent Bay at 6:47 p.m. on Wednesday evening. 28 hours of driving, 4 rest stops, and 2 cups of gas station coffee that tasted like burnt rubber had brought him home. The house wasn't much, a 2-bedroom rental with peeling paint and a porch that sagged on one side, but it was theirs. Before he even cut the engine, the front door flew open. Sophie burst out, barefoot, wearing her favorite purple dress with the sparkly unicorn on the front. Her curls bounced as she ran, and Landon barely had time to climb out before she launched herself at him. "Daddy." He caught her, lifting her up despite the exhaustion pulling at every muscle. She wrapped her arms around his neck and squeezed tight, and for the first time in 2 days, Landon felt like he could breathe properly. "Hey, pumpkin," he murmured into her hair. "I missed you. I missed you more," Sophie said, pulling back to look at him. Her brown eyes, so much like his own, sparkled with mischief. "And Julie let me stay up late." "Did she now?" Julie appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, smiling. "Only because someone insisted she couldn't possibly sleep until you got home." Landon set Sophie down and grabbed his duffel from the truck. They walked inside together, Sophie chattering non-stop about everything he'd missed. How she'd lost another tooth. How her friend Emma had brought cupcakes to school. How she'd drawn him a picture of a dragon that was currently taped to the fridge. The house smelled like tomato sauce and garlic bread. Julie had made dinner. Bless her. Landon's sister was 5 years younger, a nurse at Crescent Bay Medical Center, and the only family he had left who actually showed up. Their parents had passed years ago, and his ex-wife's family had made it clear they wanted nothing to do with him after the divorce. "You look exhausted," Julie said quietly while Sophie ran to get her drawing. "Long run," Landon replied, dropping into a kitchen chair. "Everything go okay?" Landon hesitated. The image of Mia's car spinning toward the guardrail flashed through his mind. "Yeah, fine." Julie gave him a look that said she didn't believe him, but she didn't push. "Sophie has a checkup tomorrow. Dr. Patel's office, 2 p.m. Landon's stomach tightened. "How's she been?" "Good. Energetic. No fever. She's been taking her medication without fussing." That was something, at least. Sophie had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder 2 years ago, something with a name Landon could barely pronounce. It attacked her joints, caused inflammation, fatigue, and if left untreated, could lead to permanent damage. The medication kept it manageable, but it was expensive. Brutally expensive. Even with insurance, which barely covered half, they were drowning. Sophie returned with the drawing, a magnificent dragon-breathing rainbow fire. "See, I made it purple, because that's your favorite." "It's beautiful," Landon said. And meant it. "We'll hang it right next to the others." They ate dinner together, Sophie wedged between Landon and Julie, talking non-stop. After, Landon helped Sophie with her bath, carefully checking her joints like Dr. Patel had taught him. No swelling. No heat. She winced once when he rotated her left wrist, but recovered quickly. "Does it hurt?" Landon asked gently. "Only a little," Sophie said. "Like a tiny pinch." Landon made a mental note to mention it at tomorrow's appointment. Every little thing mattered. By 8:30, Sophie was in bed, her room an explosion of stuffed animals and fairy lights. Landon sat on the edge of her mattress, reading from a book about a girl who befriended a dragon. Sophie's eyes grew heavy halfway through the 3rd chapter. "Daddy?" she murmured sleepily. "You're the best dragon slayer in the world." Landon smiled, throat tight. "I'm just a truck driver, sweetheart." "No," Sophie said firmly. Already half asleep. "You're a hero. You save people." Landon kissed her forehead and turned off the light. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching her breathe, grateful for every single day. In the kitchen, Julie was washing dishes. Landon grabbed a towel and started drying. "How bad is it?" Julie asked quietly. Landon didn't pretend not to understand. "I'm 3 months behind on the medical bills. The hospital's been patient, but they're starting to send notices. Red ink. Final warnings." "How much?" 47,000. Give or take. Julie's hands stilled in the soapy water. "Landon, that's..." "I know. You can't keep doing this alone. Let me help. I can cover some of it." "You're already helping," Landon said firmly. "You watch Sophie when I'm on the road." You make sure she takes her meds. You cook dinner and keep her laughing. That's more than enough. But, Julie, please. His voice cracked slightly. I need to be able to provide for my daughter. That's the one thing I can do. If I can't even manage that, then what am I? Julie turned to him, eyes shining. You're her father. And you're doing everything humanly possible. That's enough. Landon wanted to believe her. But when he lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, all he could think about was the stack of bills on his kitchen counter, the notice from the bank about his truck payment being overdue, the fact that Sophie's medication alone cost $800 a month, and insurance would only cover half starting next quarter. He thought about Mia Davis, about her business card tucked in his jacket pocket, about the way she'd looked at him and said, "If you ever need anything." But asking for help, accepting charity from a stranger, felt wrong. He'd gotten this far on his own. He could keep going. He had to. The next morning, Landon made pancakes, chocolate chip, as promised. Sophie ate 3 and declared them the best in the universe. They spent the morning at the park, Sophie on the swings, Landon pushing her higher and higher while she shrieked with delight. At 2 p.m., they sat in Dr. Patel's waiting room. Sophie colored in a princess book while Landon filled out insurance forms he knew would be rejected. When Dr. Patel called them back, she smiled warmly. "Sophie, how's my favorite patient?" "Good," Sophie chirped. "I lost another tooth." Dr. Patel examined her thoroughly, checking joints, reflexes, running through a checklist Landon had memorized by now. Finally, she sat back. "Everything looks stable," she said. "The medication is working. But I want to increase her dosage slightly. She's growing, and we need to stay ahead of the inflammation." Landon nodded. "How much will that cost?" "Doctor," Patel's expression softened. "The pharmacy can give you an exact quote, but Landon, I need to talk to you about something else." Sophie was distracted, playing with the stethoscope. "Doctor," Patel lowered her voice. "I know you're struggling with the bills. The hospital administrator mentioned it. There are programs, assistance funds for families in situations like yours." "I don't need charity," Landon said quietly. "It's not charity. It's designed for people who work hard but can't afford the cost of treatment. Please, just consider it." Landon didn't respond. He helped Sophie off the exam table, thanked Dr. Patel, and walked out. At the pharmacy counter, the technician rang up the new prescription. "That'll be $1,200. Landon's heart sank. "I thought it was 800. That was the old dosage. This one's higher concentration." Landon pulled out his credit card, already maxed out, and prayed it would go through. It did. Barely. Walking back to the truck, Sophie held his hand, skipping happily. She had no idea, no concept of what it cost to keep her healthy. And Landon would keep it that way for as long as he possibly could. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Landon sat at the kitchen table with a calculator and a pile of bills. No matter how he ran the numbers, they didn't add up. He was 2 weeks from losing the house, 1 breakdown from losing his truck, 1 medical emergency from losing everything. His phone buzzed, unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Mr. Blake." A woman's voice, professional, polite, speaking. "My name is Claire. I'm calling on behalf of Mia Davis. She'd like to meet with you, to properly thank you for what you did." Landon closed his eyes. "That's not necessary." She insists. "Tomorrow, noon, at the Harbor Cafe in Crescent Bay. Just coffee, 30 minutes of your time. I don't need thanks." "Mr. Blake," Claire said gently, "please. It would mean a lot to her." Landon looked at the bills spread across his table, at the eviction notice tucked beneath the calculator, at Sophie's medication bottle with its impossible price tag. "Okay," he said finally. "Tomorrow, noon. Thank you, Mr. Blake." The line went dead. Landon sat there in the silence, wondering what he'd just agreed to, wondering if desperation had finally broken him. Wondering if accepting help from a stranger made him weak or just human. He didn't have an answer. But tomorrow, He'd find out. The Harbor Cafe sat at the edge of Crescent Bay's small marina, a weathered building with blue shutters and checkered tablecloths that smelled perpetually of coffee and cinnamon rolls. It was the kind of place where fishermen grabbed breakfast before dawn and locals gathered to gossip over pie. Landon had been coming here since he'd moved to town 3 years ago. He arrived at 11:55 a.m., wearing his cleanest pair of jeans and a button-up shirt Julie had ironed for him after he'd admitted where he was going. She'd raised an eyebrow, but said nothing, just handed him the shirt and told him to be himself. Landon ordered black coffee and sat in a corner booth, back to the wall, facing the door. Old habits. At exactly noon, a Blacktown car pulled up outside. The same one from that night. Mia stepped out, and Landon realized he'd forgotten how striking she was. Today she wore dark jeans, a cream-colored sweater, and minimal jewelry. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked younger, less guarded. She spotted him immediately and walked over. No entourage, no security visible, though Landon suspected they were nearby. "Landon," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Thank you for coming." "Miss Davis." "Mia," she corrected gently. "Please." The waitress appeared, an older woman named Donna, who'd served Landon countless times. She looked at Mia with curiosity but said nothing. "What can I get you, hon?" "Coffee, please, black." Donna nodded and disappeared. An awkward silence settled between them. Landon sipped his coffee. Mia folded her hands on the table. "I'm not good at this," she admitted finally. "Asking for things, being vulnerable. I've spent my entire career building walls." "Then why am I here?" Landon asked, not unkindly. Mia met his eyes. "Because you saved my life. And I can't stop thinking about the fact that I know nothing about you, except that you're a truck driver with a daughter named Sophie, and you walked away from me without asking for a single thing in return." Landon shifted uncomfortably. "I did what anyone should do." "But most people don't," Mia said. "Most people drive past. Most people convince themselves it's not their problem. But you didn't. You put yourself in danger for a complete stranger. You were in trouble. And now, I'd like to return the favor." Landon's jaw tightened. "I don't need $47,000, Mia said quietly. "That's how much you owe in medical bills. For Sophie's treatment." Landon froze. "How do you know that?" "I had someone look into you. I'm sorry. I know it's an invasion of privacy, but I needed to understand who you are." Landon stood abruptly. This was a mistake. "Wait," Mia said, her voice urgent. "Please, just hear me out." He paused, hand on the back of the booth. Every instinct told him to walk away, but something in her expression, the raw sincerity, made him sit back down. "I'm not offering charity," Mia said carefully. "I'm offering a job." Landon frowned. "A job? I need someone I can trust. Someone who isn't part of my world, who doesn't have ulterior motives. Someone who proved they'd protect me without expecting anything in return." "You want to hire me as what? A bodyguard?" "No, security consultant. You'd work with my team, help identify vulnerabilities, accompany me to certain events. The pay is $200,000 a year plus full benefits, including medical coverage for you and Sophie." Landon stared at her. "That's insane. That's market rate for someone with your instincts. I'm a truck driver. You're more than that," Mia said firmly. "I saw how you moved that night, how you assessed the situation, how you stayed calm. You have training." Landon didn't confirm or deny it. "Why me?" "Because I've been surrounded by professionals my entire life. People who smile and nod and tell me what I want to hear. And in 2 minutes on a foggy highway, you did more to protect me than my entire security team has in 2 years." Donna returned with Mia's coffee. The silence stretched while she poured and walked away. "I can't just quit my job," Landon said finally. "I have obligations. Sophie needs stability. Sophie needs her father healthy and present." Mia countered. not killing himself driving 18-hour shifts. When was the last time you slept a full 8 hours? Landon didn't answer. This would give you regular hours, Mia continued. Weekends off, time with your daughter, and medical coverage that would actually cover her treatment. It was everything Landon needed. Everything he'd been desperately trying to provide, but accepting it felt like giving up, like admitting he couldn't make it on his own. I need time to think, he said. Mia nodded. Take all the time you need. But Landon, those men who attacked me, they're still out there, and I don't trust my current security team to stop them. Why not? Her expression darkened. Because I think someone on the inside helped set up that attack. Landon leaned back, processing. You think you have a mole? I know I do. I just don't know who. She pulled out her phone, showed him a photo. This was delivered to my office yesterday. It was a picture of her, leaving a restaurant, date and time stamped from 3 nights ago. Across the photo, red text. We're watching. Landon's blood went cold. Have you shown this to the police? They're investigating. But investigation takes time. And I don't have time. She put the phone away. I need someone I can trust. Someone who has no connection to my company, no reason to betray me. Someone who's already proven they'll stand between me and danger. Landon rubbed his face, exhausted. If I say yes, this is temporary. Just until you figure out who's behind this. Agreed. And I need to make sure Sophie's taken care of. She can't know what I'm really doing. She's been through enough. We can arrange cover. You'll be listed as a logistics consultant. It's vague enough to be believable. Landon looked at her. Really looked at her. Beneath the confidence and composure, he saw fear. Real, human fear. She was trying to control a situation spiraling out of control, and she was running out of options. Why don't you just hire more professionals? Landon asked. People with actual credentials? Because credentials can be faked. Loyalty can be bought. But that night on the highway, you had nothing to gain and everything to lose. And you still helped me. She paused. That's the kind of person I need. Landon thought about Sophie. About the medication she needed. About the house they were about to lose. About the fact that one more emergency would destroy everything he'd built. I'll do it, he said finally, but on one condition. Name it. Sophie comes first. Always. If she needs me, I walk away from whatever I'm doing. No questions. Mia extended her hand. Deal. They shook on it. Her grip was firm, professional. But there was something else there too, a spark of relief, of genuine gratitude. When do I start? Landon asked. Tonight. I have a board dinner at the Grandstone Hotel. High profile. Exactly the kind of event they might try something at. Landon nodded slowly. I'll need to arrange care for Sophie. Already handled. I've hired a private nurse, fully vetted, background checked. She'll stay with Sophie whenever you're working. And before you argue, it's part of the benefits package. Landon wanted to argue, but the practical part of his brain, the part that had been drowning in bills and desperation, told him to shut up and accept the help. Okay, he said quietly. Mia smiled, genuine and warm. Thank you, Landon. You have no idea what this means to me. He wasn't sure he wanted to know, but he'd made his choice. For better or worse, his life had just become a lot more complicated. The nurse arrived at Landon's house at 4:30 p.m. Her name was Rachel, a woman in her early 50s with kind eyes and 20 years of pediatric experience. She carried a bag full of games and art supplies and introduced herself to Sophie like they were already friends. Sophie, naturally suspicious of strangers, warmed to her within minutes. By the time Landon was ready to leave, they were building a blanket fort in the living room. You're sure about this? Julie asked quietly, walking Landon to his truck. No, Landon admitted, but I don't have much choice. You always have a choice, not when the alternative is losing everything. Julie grabbed his arm. Just be careful. Billionaire CEOs with enemies don't exactly scream safe job. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Landon didn't answer. He climbed into his truck and drove to the address Mia had texted him. A luxury apartment building downtown, all glass and steel and doormen in suits. He felt completely out of place. The doorman checked his ID, made a call, and waved him through. Landon took the elevator to the penthouse, stepping out into a hallway that probably cost more than his entire house. Mia answered the door herself. She wore a black evening gown, elegant and understated. Her hair was styled, makeup perfect. She looked every inch. The powerful CEO. Come in, she said. We need to go over a few things before tonight. The apartment was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Minimalist furniture, expensive art, everything carefully curated. It was beautiful and cold and nothing like a home. A man stood near the window, late 40s, military bearing, sharp eyes. He turned as Landon entered. This is Thomas Chen, Mia said, head of my personal security. Thomas extended his hand. Landon shook it. The man's grip was iron. The trucker, Thomas said, not quite hiding his skepticism. The man who saved my life when your team wasn't there. Mia corrected firmly. Thomas's expression didn't change. We need to establish protocols. You'll stay within 10 feet of Miss Davis at all times tonight. You'll wear this. He handed Landon a small earpiece. Comms are open. You hear anything suspicious, you report it immediately. Landon put the earpiece in. What exactly am I looking for? Anyone who gets too close. Anyone who seems focused on her rather than the event. Anyone who triggers your instincts. Thomas paused. You do have instincts, right? He does, Mia said before Landon could respond. Better than anyone I've met. Thomas didn't look convinced, but he nodded. There'll be 60 people at this dinner. Board members, investors, executives. Most are harmless. But someone leaked my schedule to the attackers last time, which means someone in that room might be working against us. Do you have a suspect list? Landon asked. Thomas pulled out a tablet, showed him photos. These 5. All have access to Miss Davis's calendar. All have potential motives, financial or otherwise. Landon studied the faces. 2 men, 3 women. All looked professional, polished, trustworthy. Any one of them could be the leak. I'll watch them, Landon said. You'll watch everyone, Thomas corrected. Trust no one. The drive to the Grandstone Hotel was tense. Landon rode in the back of the town car with Mia while Thomas sat up front with the driver. Security followed in a second vehicle. You okay? Mia asked quietly. Fine. You don't have to do this. If it's too much. I gave you my word, Landon said. I don't break promises. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. Thank you. The hotel was exactly what Landon expected. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, people in clothes that cost more than his monthly rent. They walked through the lobby. Mia's hand resting lightly on his arm. More for appearances than support. To anyone watching, they looked like a couple. The ballroom was full of people networking, laughing, drinking champagne. Mia moved through the crowd with practiced ease, shaking hands, making small talk. Landon stayed close, eyes constantly scanning. He spotted 3 of the suspects immediately. A woman in red near the bar, watching Mia too intently. A man by the window, checking his phone every 30 seconds. Another woman deep in conversation with a board member. But her attention kept drifting. Thomas, Landon said quietly into his earpiece. Woman in red. 11 o'clock. She hasn't taken her eyes off Mia since we walked in. Noted. That's Victoria Ross, VP of Operations. She's been with the company 8 years. Long enough to build trust, long enough to betray it. Thomas didn't respond, but Landon saw him signal to another security officer. The dinner was excruciating. Landon sat beside Mia at the head table, forcing down expensive food he couldn't taste while listening to speeches about quarterly earnings and market expansion. But he never stopped watching, never stopped assessing. Halfway through dessert, Mia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and Landon saw her face go pale. "What is it?" he asked quietly. She showed him the screen, another photo. This one of Sophie, playing at the park. That morning, Landon's blood turned to ice. They know about her. Mia's hand found his under the table, squeezed. "We'll protect her. I promise." But Landon was already standing, already moving. "We're leaving. Now." "Landon, they threatened my daughter. We're done here." Thomas appeared at his elbow. "What's happening?" Landon showed him the phone. Thomas's expression hardened. "Get her to the car. I'll secure the exits." They moved fast. Landon's hand on Mia's back, guiding her through the crowd. People stared. Whispers followed. But Landon didn't care. The only thing that mattered was getting to Sophie. In the car, Mia made calls while Landon dialed Rachel. "Everything okay there?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Perfect," Rachel said cheerfully. "Sophie's teaching me her favorite card game. We're having a blast." "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone except me or Julie. Understand?" Rachel's tone changed, professional now. "Understood. Is there a threat?" "Just a precaution." He hung up. Mia was still on the phone, her voice sharp and commanding. "I want security at his address immediately. Full detail. No one gets within 100 feet of that house." She ended the call, turned to Landon. "I'm sorry. I never should have put you in this position." "You didn't," Landon said. "I chose this, but if they touch my daughter, they won't. I swear to you, they won't." The car pulled up to Landon's house 20 minutes later. Security vehicles were already there, discreet but present. Landon burst through the front door. Rachel and Sophie looked up from their card game, startled. "Daddy." Sophie ran to him. "You're home early." Landon scooped her up, held her tight. Over her shoulder, he saw Mia standing in the doorway, watching them. For a moment, their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. This wasn't just a job anymore. This was war. And the people he loved were caught in the crossfire. "Change of plans," Landon said to Mia. "You're staying here tonight, where I can see you, where I know you're safe." Mia blinked, surprised. "Landon, I can't impose." "You're not imposing. You're accepting protection from someone who actually gives a damn whether you live or die." His voice was hard, brooking no argument. "Those people want to hurt you, and they just used my daughter to send a message. So until we figure out who's behind this, you don't leave my sight." Mia looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay." Sophie, oblivious to the tension, tugged on Mia's hand. "Are you staying for a sleepover? We can play games." Mia smiled, genuine despite everything. "I'd like that." And just like that, their worlds collided. A billionaire CEO and a single father, thrown together by danger and desperation, trying to protect what mattered most while something neither of them expected quietly began to bloom in the spaces between fear and trust. The first night was awkward. Mia slept on the couch despite Landon's offer of his bedroom, insisting she'd imposed enough already. Sophie thought it was the greatest adventure ever, showing Mia her entire collection of stuffed animals and explaining in elaborate detail the backstory of each one. By the time Landon got Sophie to bed, it was nearly 11. He found Mia in the kitchen, staring at her laptop, still in her evening gown but barefoot now, hair falling loose around her shoulders. She looked exhausted and beautiful, and completely out of place surrounded by his chipped mugs and mismatched chairs. "You should sleep," Landon said, pouring himself water. "Can't," Mia replied without looking up. "I'm trying to trace the source of that photo. Whoever sent it had to be physically near the park this morning. Thomas and his team are handling that." "I need to do something," Mia said, and there was frustration in her voice. "I've spent my entire career being in control, solving problems. And now I'm hiding in someone else's house while they threaten innocent people because of me. Landon pulled out a chair and sat across from her. You're not hiding. You're being smart. There's a difference. Is there? She finally looked at him. Your daughter is in danger because I walked into your life. How is that smart? Sophie's in danger because someone wants to hurt you, and they're willing to use anyone to do it. That's not your fault. Feels like my fault. Landon understood that guilt. He'd carried it for 3 years, ever since his ex-wife left, wondering what he'd done wrong, what he could have changed, how he'd failed to be enough. My wife left because I wasn't what she wanted, he said suddenly. The words surprised him. He never talked about this. She wanted someone ambitious, someone climbing ladders and making plans. I just wanted stability, a home, a family. She said I was settling, that I'd given up on dreams. He paused. For a long time, I believed her. Mia closed her laptop. What changed? Sophie got sick. And suddenly, all those big dreams didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was making sure she woke up every morning, that she smiled, that she felt loved. He met Mia's eyes. You can't control everything. Sometimes you just do your best and hope it's enough. Mia was quiet for a moment. I've never had that. What? Someone who just wanted me to be safe and happy. My parents pushed me towards success from the time I could walk. Every relationship I've had was transactional. People wanted access, connections, money. No one ever just wanted me. That's not true, Landon said. Sophie wanted you. She showed you every single stuffed animal she owns. That's her version of love. Mia smiled, and it transformed her face. She's remarkable. She is. They sat in comfortable silence, the house settling around them. Outside, security personnel did their rounds. Inside, two people from completely different worlds found unexpected common ground. Over the next 2 weeks, a routine developed. Mia worked from Landon's house, turning his small dining table into a makeshift office. Landon took jobs closer to home, shorter routes that let him return each night. Thomas and his team maintained constant surveillance, while quietly investigating everyone in Mia's inner circle. And Sophie, oblivious to the danger, blossomed with the attention. Mia taught her basic coding on an old tablet. Landon taught Mia how to make pancakes without burning them. They fell into an easy rhythm that felt dangerously like a family. One evening, while Sophie was at dance class with Julie, Landon and Mia sat on the porch watching the sunset. Security was present but distant, giving them space. Tell me about your company, Landon said. What made you want to build it? Mia leaned back in her chair. Control, mostly. I was tired of men in boardrooms telling me what I couldn't do. So I built something they couldn't touch. Something I owned completely. Lonely at the top? Lonelier than I expected. She admitted. You sacrifice everything for success. And then you realize success isn't warm at night. It doesn't hold your hand when you're scared. It doesn't care if you're happy. Regret it? No. But I'm starting to wonder what I missed along the way. She looked at him. You gave up a lot for Sophie. Do you regret it? Not for a second. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Your ex-wife was an idiot. Landon laughed, surprised. That's harsh. It's true. She had a man who would move mountains for the people he loves, and she walked away. That's not just stupid, that's tragic. Something shifted in the air between them. Mia's eyes held his, and Landon felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Connection. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as alone as he thought. His phone buzzed, shattering the moment. Thomas. We've got something. Victoria Ross's financials show large deposits from an offshore account. Same account linked to the attackers from the highway. Landon stood. Where is she now? Still at the office. We're moving to intercept. I'm coming with you. Landon, Mia said, standing. Let Thomas handle this. She threatened my daughter. I'm going. Mia saw the steel in his expression and didn't argue. Then I'm coming too. Absolutely not. She's my VP. My company. My responsibility. Mia grabbed her jacket. We do this together, or not at all. 20 minutes later, they walked into Nexus Technologies headquarters, Thomas and 4 security personnel flanking them. The building was mostly empty, just night staff and workaholics. Victoria's office was on the 40th floor. They found her packing files into a box, moving quickly, nervously. She looked up as they entered, and her face went white. Mia, I can explain. Explain why you sold me out? Mia's voice was ice. Explain why you put people's lives in danger. Victoria's composure cracked. They were going to destroy me. I had gambling debts, bad investments. They offered to clear everything if I just gave them your schedule. You could have come to me, Mia said. I would have helped you. I was ashamed, Victoria whispered. I didn't want you to see me as weak. Instead, I see you as a traitor. Thomas stepped forward. Victoria Ross, you're under arrest for conspiracy and attempted murder. Police are on their way. Victoria didn't resist. She just sank into her chair, defeated. As security led her away, Mia turned to the window, staring out at the city lights. I trusted her, she said quietly. For 8 years. I trusted her. Landon moved beside her. You couldn't have known. I should have. I built my entire life on reading people. And I missed this. You're human. Humans make mistakes. Mia turned to him, eyes bright with unshed tears. I'm tired of being strong all the time. I'm tired of not being able to trust anyone. You can trust me, Landon said simply. And in that moment, something broke open between them. Mia stepped forward, and Landon met her halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, testing, then deeper, months of tension and fear and unexpected connection pouring out. When they pulled apart, Mia rested her forehead against his. This is complicated. Everything worth having is complicated. I don't know how to do this, the normal relationship thing. Neither do I, but maybe we figure it out together. Mia smiled. I'd like that. 3 weeks after Victoria's arrest, life had almost returned to normal. Almost. Mia had moved back to her apartment but spent most evenings at Landon's house. They hadn't told Sophie yet, hadn't labeled what they were, but everyone could see it. The way Mia's eyes followed Landon across a room, the way his hand found the small of her back, the way they fit together. Sophie loved having Mia around. She'd started calling her, Mia, Mom, which made Mia tear up the first time and had since become an established nickname. They'd fallen into domesticity, grocery shopping together, cooking dinner, helping Sophie with homework. It felt fragile, perfect, too good to be true. And then Sophie collapsed. It happened at school. 1 minute she was playing at recess, the next she was on the ground, teachers rushing to her side. By the time Landon got the call, she was already in an ambulance. He met them at Crescent Bay Medical, where Julie was waiting. She's stable, Julie said immediately. But they're running tests. It might be a reaction to her medication. Dr. Patel emerged from the exam room, expression serious. We need to talk privately. They went to a consultation room. Mia had arrived by then, still in a business suit from a morning meeting, and she held Landon's hand as Dr. Patel spoke. Sophie's condition has progressed more aggressively than we anticipated. The current medication isn't strong enough anymore. We need to switch to a different treatment protocol, but it's significantly more expensive and carries higher risks. How expensive? Landon asked, though he already knew he'd find a way no matter the cost. Initial treatment is about $80,000, then $20,000 monthly for maintenance. The number hit like a physical blow. Even with the job Mia had given him, even with insurance, it was impossible. I'll cover it, Mia said immediately. No, Landon said. Landon, this isn't the time for pride. It's not about pride. It's about her being my daughter. My responsibility. Dr. Patel looked between them. Perhaps we should discuss treatment options first. There may be clinical trials, payment plans, whatever it takes. Landon said. Just tell me what she needs. Over the next 3 days, Sophie stayed in the hospital while doctors ran tests and adjusted medications. Landon never left her side. Mia brought him food he didn't eat, coffee he barely touched. Julie handled logistics, coordinating with doctors and insurance companies. On the 3rd night, after Sophie finally fell asleep, Landon sat in the chair beside her bed and broke. All the fear he'd been holding, all the exhaustion and worry and desperate hope, came pouring out. He pressed his hands to his face and shook silently, trying not to wake her. Mia found him like that. She didn't say anything, just pulled a second chair close and wrapped her arms around him. They sat like that for a long time, her holding him while he fell apart. I can't lose her, Landon whispered. She's everything. If something happens to her, I don't know how to keep going. You won't lose her, Mia said fiercely. We won't let that happen. We? You think I'm walking away from this? From you? From her? Mia pulled back to look at him. Landon, I love you. I love Sophie. You're my family now, whether you like it or not. Landon stared at her, stunned. You love me. Terrifies me. But yes, completely, hopelessly. I love you too, Landon said, and it felt like stepping off a cliff, terrifying and freeing all at once. But this life, it's messy and complicated, and I want all of it, Mia interrupted. The messy, complicated, beautiful, all of it. They kissed, soft and careful, conscious of Sophie sleeping nearby. When they pulled apart, Landon felt something shift inside him. He wasn't alone anymore. For the first time in years, he had someone standing beside him, ready to fight whatever came next. Dr. Patel had good news the next morning. Sophie's labs had stabilized. The new treatment protocol was working. She'd need to stay another few days for monitoring, but the prognosis was hopeful. Can I go home soon? Sophie asked, voice small and tired. Soon, sweetheart, Landon promised. Will Mia, Mom, be there? Landon glanced at Mia, who smiled. I'll be there, she said. I'm not going anywhere. Sophie beamed despite her exhaustion. Good. Because we still need to finish our fort. Recovery was slow. Sophie came home tired easily, needed frequent rest. But gradually, color returned to her cheeks. Energy returned to her step. The medication was working. And for the first time in months, Landon allowed himself to believe they might actually be okay. 6 months later, everything had changed. Mia had sold her penthouse and moved into a bigger house on the outskirts of Crescent Bay, one with enough room for all of them. Sophie had her own room, painted purple at her insistence, filled with books and art supplies. Landon had a workshop in the garage where he'd started fixing things for neighbors. A hobby that had turned into a small side business. And Mia, she'd stepped back from the CEO role, appointing a successor, and taking a position as board advisor. She worked from home most days, consulting on major decisions, but present for breakfast, for dance recitals, for the small ordinary moments she'd spent her whole life missing. They'd fallen in love slowly, then all at once. Movie nights on the couch, Sunday morning pancakes, helping Sophie with increasingly complicated homework, building a life together one small moment at a time. On a Saturday in April, Landon took Mia and Sophie to Ocean View Park, a sprawling green space overlooking the bay. They'd packed a picnic, and Sophie ran ahead, chasing butterflies and climbing trees. She's happy, Mia observed, watching her. She is, Landon agreed. Thanks to you. Thanks to us, Mia corrected. She turned to him. Can I ask you something? I know we've only been together 6 months. I know it's fast. But I also know I've never been more certain of anything in my life. She took his hand. Landon Blake, will you marry me? Landon blinked, shocked. You're proposing? I'm a CEO. I'm used to going after what I want. And I want you. Forever. If you'll have me. Landon pulled her close, kissed her deeply. Yes. Absolutely yes. Sophie's shriek of joy made them break apart. She was running toward them, having apparently overheard everything. You're getting married? Really? Really? Mia confirmed, laughing as Sophie crashed into them both. They held each other, the three of them, while the sun set over the bay and the world continued on around them. A single father who'd thought love was behind him. A billionaire who'd thought success was enough. A little girl who'd brought them together. A family built not from perfection, but from showing up, staying present, choosing each other every single day. The wedding was small, intimate, held in Julie's backyard with 20 of their closest friends and family. Sophie was the flower girl, wearing a purple dress she'd picked out herself. Julie officiated, having gotten ordained online specifically for this occasion. Mia wore a simple white dress. No designer label, just beautiful. Landon wore a suit Julie had helped him pick out, the first new suit he'd owned in years. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. I promise to love you, even when you burn the pancakes, Landon said, and everyone laughed. I promise to stand beside you, not behind or ahead, but beside. I promise to choose us, every day, even when it's hard. I promise to be present, Mia said, voice thick with emotion. To value what matters. To remember that success is measured not in dollars but in moments like this. I promise to love Sophie as my own. And I promise to love you with everything I have. They exchanged rings, simple silver bands engraved with the date they met. When Julie pronounced them married, the kiss was sweet and certain and full of promise. At the reception, Sophie insisted on making a speech. Standing on a chair, she looked at Landon and Mia with pure love. My daddy is the bravest person I know. And Mia, Mom is the smartest. Together they're like superheroes. And I'm so happy we're a real family now. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. 2 years later, Landon stood in front of a small storefront on Harborview Street. Keys in hand. The sign above the door read, Blake's Repair and Trust, hand, painted by Sophie, now 9 and thriving. The shop was modest, just a workspace and a counter, but it was his. The concept was simple. Fix what's broken. Charge what people can afford. Build trust one repair at a time. Word had spread quickly through Crescent Bay. Soon people were bringing him everything from broken toasters to complicated electrical problems. He never turned anyone away. Mia had funded the startup costs, but the business was his. She ran a small consulting firm from home now, advising startups and nonprofits, using her expertise to help others build something meaningful. She was happy, genuinely happy, in a way she'd never been running Nexus. Sophie was healthy, thriving on her medication with minimal side effects. She'd started a blog about living with an autoimmune disorder, raising awareness, and helping other young people going through similar struggles. Mia had taught her how to code, and Sophie had built the website herself. One Tuesday afternoon, an elderly man came into the shop carrying a broken radio. Can you fix this? He asked. My wife gave it to me 50 years ago. I'd like to hear it play again. Landon took it carefully. I'll do my best. He worked on it for 2 hours. Sophie doing homework at the counter while Mia handled emails at a small desk in the corner. They'd turned the shop into a family space, everyone contributing in their own way. When the radio finally crackled to life, playing big band music from the 40s, the elderly man's eyes filled with tears. How much do I owe you? Whatever you think is fair, Landon said. The man pulled out $20. It probably cost less than Landon's time and parts, but he took it with a smile. Come back anytime. After the man left, Mia walked over and wrapped her arms around Landon from behind. You're changing lives, she murmured. I'm just fixing radios. You're fixing more than that. You're giving people hope, showing them kindness still exists. She kissed his cheek. I'm proud of you. Sophie looked up from her homework. Are we still going to the park tonight? Wouldn't miss it, Landon promised. That evening, they walked to Ocean View Park, the same place Mia had proposed 2 years ago. Sophie ran ahead as always, and Landon and Mia followed hand in hand. "Do you ever miss it?" Landon asked. "The corporate world? The power?" Mia shook her head. "I have everything I need right here. You, Sophie, our life together. That's real power. That's real wealth." They found a spot on the grass and watched Sophie play, her laughter carrying on the wind. Landon thought about how far they'd come. A chance encounter on a foggy highway. A split-second decision to help a stranger. And now this, a family, a home, a purpose. "Thank you," Mia said quietly. "For what?" "For being exactly who you are. For teaching me what actually matters. For saving my life in every way that counts." Landon pulled her close. "We saved each other." And they had. Two broken people finding wholeness together. Learning that love wasn't about perfection or grand gestures, but about showing up, staying present, choosing each other through every storm. As the sun set over Crescent Bay, painting the sky in oranges and purples, Landon Blake sat with his wife and daughter and felt something he'd spent years searching for. Peace, belonging, home, not in a place, but in the people who chose to stand beside him. In the family they'd built from courage and kindness, and an unexpected moment on a dark highway when a truck driver decided that some things were worth fighting for. Sophie ran back to them, breathless and happy. "Can we get ice cream?" Mia laughed. "Absolutely." They stood together, brushed off grass, and headed toward town. Three people who'd found each other against all odds, who'd chosen love over fear, who'd built something beautiful from broken pieces. And somewhere in Crescent Bay, in a small shop on Harborview Street, a sign swayed gently in the evening breeze, promising to fix what's broken and build what matters. One repair, one act of kindness, one family at a time. 5 years after that foggy night on Pacific Coast Highway, Landon stood in the kitchen of their home on Elm Ridge Drive, watching morning light filter through the windows. The house was bigger now, necessary for the family that had grown in ways none of them had expected. Photographs lined the hallway, a visual timeline of their journey together. Sophie at 10, holding her first coding trophy, Mia and Landon on their wedding day, the whole family at the grand opening of Blake's Repair and Trust, and the newest addition, a photo from 3 months ago. Landon and Mia in a hospital room, exhausted and radiant, holding twin boys, Nathan and Oliver, named after Landon's father and Mia's grandfather, 2 men who'd taught them about integrity and perseverance. "Daddy," Oliver spit up again. Sophie called from the nursery, her voice carrying the patient exasperation of a 12-year-old who'd become an expert older sister practically overnight. Landon grabbed a burp cloth and headed down the hall. He found Sophie expertly handling the situation, already cleaning Oliver's face, while Nathan dozed peacefully in his crib. She'd grown so much, tall and confident, her health stable. For 3 years now, the scared 7-year-old who'd watched her father struggle was gone, replaced by this remarkable young woman who coded websites for local businesses and volunteered at the Children's Hospital on weekends. "I've got it," Landon said, taking over. "You should get ready for school." "Already packed my bag," Sophie replied, kissing Oliver's head before leaving. "Tell Mia, Mom, I'll need a ride to coding club after school." Mia appeared in the doorway, hair still damp from the shower, wearing jeans and one of Landon's old flannel shirts. She looked nothing like the polished CEO from that night 5 years ago, and everything like home. "I heard," she said, moving to check on Nathan. "Coding club at 4, and then she wants to stop by the shop to work on that website, redesigned for Mrs. Patterson." They moved through the morning routine with practiced efficiency, feeding twins, getting Sophie off to school, stealing quick kisses between diaper changes and coffee refills. It was chaotic and exhausting and absolutely perfect. Later that morning, after the twins were down for their nap, Mia and Landon sat on the back porch, coffee cups warming their hands. The bay stretched out before them, peaceful and endless. "Do you remember what you said to me that first night?" Mia asked. "At the cafe?" "I said a lot of things," You said you were just a guy driving through. She smiled. You were never just anything, Landon Blake. He pulled her close. Neither were you. You were never just a CEO, or just a client, or just anything. You were always extraordinary. We're both different people now, Mia observed. Better, I think. Definitely better. They sat in comfortable silence, watching boats drift across the water. Landon thought about the journey that had brought them here. The fear, the risk, the moment he'd chosen to step between danger and a stranger. How that single decision had changed everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Julie with a photo. Sophie at school receiving an award for her autoimmune disorder awareness blog. The caption read, "Your daughter is changing the world, one post at a time." Landon showed Mia, who beamed with pride. She gets that from you, Mia said. The helping people thing, the showing up when it matters. She gets it from us, Landon corrected. The whole messy, beautiful package. That evening, after dinner and bath time and bedtime stories, Landon returned to the shop for a few hours. A teenager had brought in a laptop with a cracked screen, and Landon had promised to have it ready for school tomorrow. As he worked, replacing components and testing connections, he thought about how far he'd come from that desperate single father drowning in bills and fear. He'd built something real here. Not just a business, but a legacy. Sophie volunteered because she'd watched him help people without expecting anything in return. The twins would grow up seeing what it meant to show up for your community, to fix what's broken, to choose kindness over convenience. Mia appeared with coffee and a kiss. "Come home soon," she said. "The boys are asleep, Sophie's finishing homework, and I'm feeling nostalgic." Nostalgic for what? For us. For quiet moments. For remembering how lucky we are. Landon finished the repair, locked up the shop, and walked home through the quiet streets of Crescent Bay. Lights glowed in windows, families settling in for the night, lives unfolding in 1,000 different ways. And Landon Blake, former truck driver, unexpected hero, husband, father, and neighborhood repairman, felt gratitude wash over him like a wave. For the foggy night that changed everything. For the woman who taught him that accepting help wasn't weakness. For the family they'd built together, piece by piece, choice by choice, day by ordinary, extraordinary day. Some people spend their whole lives searching for purpose. Landon had found his on a dark highway when he'd decided that some things, some people, were worth fighting for. And every single day since, he'd made that same choice, to show up, to stay present, to love fiercely, and without reservation. That was the real story, not the dramatic rescue or the whirlwind romance, but the quiet decision to keep choosing each other, keep building together, keep believing that broken things could be made whole again, one repair at a time, one moment at a time, one family at a time. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.